A student stepped up to the microphone and challenged the speaker, asking if he truly felt proud debating young college students who, in most cases, are not fully prepared to handle such confrontations in front of a large audience. The remark suggested that the exchange seemed uneven, one side being far more experienced and the other still learning how to articulate complex ideas. The speaker quickly pushed back. He paused and reminded the student of his age, confirming he was 30 years old, before turning the question around. Was it really silly, he asked, to have these conversations? He pointed out that the real issue wasn't about age or debating skill, but about the fact that both sides were voters. If each person is a voter, then both hold the same civic power, regardless of their stage in life. From his perspective, this was about speaking directly to the people who will one day help decide the direction of the country, even the future of Western society itself. The student then tried to press further, questioning why he should even take the speaker seriously. He asked what made the speaker any different from a professor addressing a classroom, what gave him the standing to command a microphone and hold the attention of the room. The tone carried doubt, as if to say, "Why should anyone here listen to you?" In response, the speaker turned the question back toward the political landscape on campus. He asked the student to look at the clear evidence of political energy, the strong support for former President Donald Trump among young people at that very university. He argued that this wasn't comedy or a sideshow, but a serious reality shaping modern politics. In fact, he said, this kind of support could spell real trouble for Democratic figures like Vice President Kamala Harris, particularly in critical states such as Pennsylvania, where every shift in public opinion could tip the balance of an election. The discussion shifted again as the student pressed forward. "Look," he said, "I just want to make sure we're being clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?" The speaker replied firmly that there was nothing wrong at all, that in fact, this was the very point of the gathering. The event was an open forum where anyone could step up to the microphone, raise concerns, and be heard. The student, however, didn't stop there. He accused the speaker of promoting what he viewed as a dangerous political agenda. Abortion rights, he argued, were one of the clearest examples of that. With that, the exchange grew more focused, moving from questions of style and presentation into matters of real policy. The speaker asked for the student's name, Jean, and then posed a pointed question in return. "What is your understanding of the Republican Party's current position on federal involvement in abortion?" Jean responded by saying that, from what he knew, Republicans wanted abortion decisions returned to the states rather than enforced at a national level. The speaker then emphasized that Jean's answer was correct, noting that the party had repeatedly taken the position that they opposed a federal ban and wanted states to decide for themselves. This led the speaker to broaden the point. The conversation wasn't just about one controversial issue. It was about the upcoming presidential election, one of the most consequential events shaping the nation's future. He stressed the importance of students engaging in open dialogue, whether they agreed or disagreed, because this was how the next generation of voters would sharpen their views and make informed choices. Still, Jean wasn't entirely satisfied. He admitted that debate itself was valuable, but insisted that his criticism ran deeper than the words spoken on stage. What bothered him most was the way the speaker's content was presented online. According to Jean, the editing and framing of videos often made participants look foolish or uninformed, which, he argued, distorted the reality of the exchange. The speaker quickly countered this, pointing out that his organization regularly posts full, unedited versions of these conversations, leaving nothing hidden from public view. The exchange took another turn when the speaker tried to move the conversation beyond personal remarks. He told the student that disagreements shouldn't be about style, tone, or personalities, but about substance. He encouraged the student to identify one real policy area where he disagreed, whether with the conservative movement, former President Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, or even the speaker himself, who reminded the audience that he had also been a presidential candidate in the past. By doing this, he argued, the conversation would be more meaningful and, in the long run, strengthen the nation through open debate. The student finally raised a specific concern. He said his disagreement was with certain bills being introduced in Congress that, in his view, discriminated against the LGBTQ+ community. particularly against transgender individuals. This was, for him, a critical point of contention with the broader conservative agenda. The speaker acknowledged the topic and responded by outlining his own stance. He explained that, in his view, adults over the age of 18 should be free to live as they choose, whether in how they dress, who they marry, or how they identify. However, he drew a sharp distinction when it came to children. Just as minors cannot legally get tattoos or make other permanent decisions without parental consent, he argued that they should not be exposed to or encouraged toward decisions involving gender identity before reaching adulthood. That he expanded the point further, saying that while adults could live freely, there should be boundaries. In his perspective, adults should not compete in sports categories that do not align with their biological sex, enter facilities designed for the opposite sex, or attempt to alter language in ways that blur biological distinctions. Most importantly, he insisted, schools should not introduce these discussions to very young children who are not yet able to understand or consent. The speaker then sought common ground, asking the student if they could at least agree that adults should live with personal freedom, while children should be treated differently under the law. The student responded that he agreed with much of what had been said, but believed the speaker overlooked the wider impact of certain legislative proposals. In his view, the laws being considered in Congress carried consequences that went beyond what the speaker had acknowledged, with a long line of students waiting to speak. The moderator reminded both sides that the goal of such exchanges was to debate substance, not simply trade personal criticisms. The more we stick to real issues, he concluded, the stronger we will become as a country. The student, however, pushed back one last time, insisting that the speaker wasn't genuinely focusing on substance and that his own concerns about specific legislation had not been fully addressed. The moderator followed up by asking directly, if the concern was about legislation, then which laws, specifically, did the student have in mind? As the exchange continued, the moderator pressed the student for clarity. Can you be specific? He asked, reminding him that vague references to laws were not enough to ground a serious debate. The student admitted he was nervous and added that stepping into the spotlight was intimidating. He accused the speaker of creating that pressure deliberately, suggesting that the format was designed to put students on the defensive. The moderator quickly pushed back. He reminded the student that participation was voluntary,